Okay, we've got to talk about the past 9 months because I'm a mom of 3 under the age of 5. I run a online business. I've been running it for over 10 years. I help online business owners build their business to 6 figures and beyond in a way that is simple and sustainable. And the past 9 months has just been tough. I finally realized why. And in this video, I'm going to share about my journey of discovery that I have PMDD, what that has looked like for me, what has been helping, and the shifts that I'm making right now to my business to make this work because it hasn't been working. So this is going to be a little bit more of a personal share. If you have PMDD, if you suspect you might have PMDD, or you're a business owner who struggles with chronic illness or chronic depression, or just wants things to feel less stressful, I think you're going to get a lot out of this little chat because I wish I had even known that this was on my radar because I think I would have figured out what was going on so much sooner. So I want to shed light on it, whatever. You get the gist. So let's dig into this. We're going to talk about this in a couple ways. First, I'm going to talk about what I was experiencing when I didn't know it was PMDD. Like, what did this look like? How did it progress? And this journey of discovery that I had PMDD because my gosh, like I feel like it happened by accident. Then I'm going to share, what has to change, what's not working, what I've been what I've identified as the things to shift in my life and business. And then I'm also going to talk about what that is actually looking like. Like, what are the things I'm doing? How am I making those changes? And how do I make this work? So I also want to say that I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I am just sharing my story, my experience. So I don't want to convey any alternative to that. So let's jump in. I've never had chronic depression before, or, of course I've had, I was depressed after a miscarriage. Like, I've had things, but I definitely never had chronic or recurrent depression. So I would say this journey of PMDD for me, it took about 6 months or more to figure out that this was going on. And what I'm sharing is definitely from a retroactive point of view. Like, I can look back and see what was happening and why it was happening. But in the moment, I had no clue what was wrong with me. And I think that's the part that I really want to share with you, because you might be telling yourself it's a mindset issue or you're burned out or whatever. And there might be something else at play here. All I knew was that at the, last quarter of 2024, I had some of the best months in business. I was on a high cash, high sales. Like, I was loving it. My clients were like, it was feeling so good. And very soon after that, like, I had my highest month ever. And I think then the next month is when I started to feel like weird. I just started to feel like my energy was shifting, and ultimately I didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was a stranger in my own body at some point. And I thought that at first it was a mindset issue. Like, I literally was like, oh, I'm having a mindset issue from, having this huge cash injection or like sales injection. And now I'm having a mindset issue of like, oh, well, this month isn't as high. Like, I literally was just thinking it was some money mindset issue. And so I was just like trying to do my normal thing. I'd have a breakthrough. I'd be like, oh, yay, this is it. I'd start to make progress. And then a week later, I'd be exhausted. I'd be overthinking everything. I'd be questioning every decision. I'd be anxious. I'd be lethargic, unable to really move anything forward. And again, this was like really happening. I didn't see a pattern. It just was like, why am I struggling to make these choices? Why am I struggling to move forward all of a sudden? I thought it was like a business issue. I thought it was a mindset issue. I literally was not even thinking it was anything else. I was just like, oh, something's just wrong with my mindset. Something's wrong with my business strategy. And so I just was like totally oblivious to the fact that I was experiencing something hormonal and something that ultimately resulted in depression for me. So I just kept trying to figure it out, which had its own huge ripple effect in my business, because I was just like making changes and making decisions, and I'd like start on the change and then I'd change my mind, and I was just like all over the place. And you know, it's almost a frustrating time to look back on, because I just wish I knew then what I know now. And I just kept thinking it was like a discipline issue, a strategy issue, a focus issue. And the mentors I was following at the time, this is not like their fault or anything like that, obviously, but at the time, a lot of the influence I was receiving, or like the stuff I was seeing on social media, was like, you post on Instagram every day and you sell every day, no matter what, even when you're not in the mood, even when you're not inspired, even when you're not comfortable, like that's when you have to do it. And I just wasn't able to. And as someone who hadn't really experienced depression, I didn't know I was experiencing really depression yet. But I was just like unable to do things that used to feel like not as big of a deal. And because suddenly I couldn't do them anymore, and I'm being told by everyone else that I should be able to do them if I'm just dedicated enough, if I'm just confident enough, if I'm just whatever, then I'd start feeling even worse about myself, which of course, when I was in a depressive state, was making everything even worse. So here I am, I had a high couple months. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, what's happening? Who am I? But, I'm good. I'm serving my clients. I feel good for a week or two, and then I feel bad. And this inconsistency piece was probably the toughest, and why I struggled to identify this, because I kept thinking that finally it was over. I'd be like, oh, finally, I'm me again. I feel good. And then I obviously just like would repeat the cycle. So eventually I did figure out that there was something happening here, that there was a pattern. I started to think it was hormonal. I have PCOS. I got a myriad of things. I got celiac. We got some stuff going on. But I was like, I guess this is just really bad luteal phase stuff. This is just really bad PMS, because it's like, oh yeah, I feel really bad before I start my period, and then I start my period and I feel better. But every month it was just getting worse and worse. And it got to the point a couple months ago where when you're supposed to be feeling great, you're ovulating, you're supposed to be on a high, I was depressed. And I really started to realize that I was depressed, because you should be feeling amazing. And I was feeling my absolute worst. I didn't want to talk. Like, literally talking to my husband was like, I don't know how to articulate it. But I just felt like I was barely functional. Like, I was showing up for my kids, showing up for other people as best as I could, serving my clients and loving it. It's like I could be in a good place. Like, I could be on a call with a client and be feeling amazing. But it was like, all felt like it was short term, right? And so pretending to be a happy mom and like playing with my kids and doing this, like not letting them see this, like that, it felt hard. It felt painful. And again, this is all ebbing and flowing. So I'd feel normal. And then there'd be, eventually it was getting longer. It was 2 or 3 weeks every cycle. And towards the end, it was like full blown, like I said, depression, barely functional, didn't want to talk, like, super severe. And so of course my husband was like, concerned, understandably. So started to be like, okay, this is a bigger deal. This isn't just a bad luteal phase anymore. This is getting more severe. And just by happenstance, I saw, 2 different things on social media right around this point. I saw a thread from a friend of mine about PMDD. And then I saw a TikTok, and she was just like asking about, hey, does anyone have PMDD? And I was like, that phrase wasn't even on my radar. I had forgotten it existed, right? And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then like the same day, I think I saw a TikTok of a woman sharing that Pepcid, AC, and Zyrtec help her with really bad PMS and PMDD. And I was very confused, very curious. So I started researching. I was like, what is PMDD? And I started to realize a lot of those symptoms resonated with me, especially the timing and the emotional impacts. So I was like, I think I might have this. So I decided to try the Pepcid AC Zyrtec trick. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying to do it. The idea is, I'm not going to get into the science basically, but there's a theory that it's like it's all an estrogen response to histamines. And so if you take a Pepcid AC and a Zyrtec together once a day after you ovulate and stop when you start your period, that those are histamine blockers. So they like stop you from having that reaction. Again, I'm sure I'm butchering that. You get the gist. And if it helped, then it would like kind of confirm my self-diagnosis. And literally within 12 hours of taking the medicine for the first time, I felt a shift, felt a positive improvement. It wasn't like flip a switch, I'm great, but it was a positive shift. Then the next month, I started to take it, I took it earlier when I started to feel my mood drop right around ovulation. And again, the rest of that cycle wasn't as severe, wasn't as bad. It was moderate. And then this most recent cycle, same thing. I wouldn't say I'm like 100%, but I feel incredible. Like this is when I would be normally absolutely depressed and unable to function. And I'm able to record a YouTube video. This is my second one to record. I'm able to feel confident in my choices, feel like myself, even if maybe I don't feel like 100%. It's just a life-changing shift. I can't even believe it. And it's like I found this secret that like our grandmothers pass on to each other. It's just crazy. So I am self-diagnosed with PMDD, but between my symptoms aligning with that, the timing aligning, and this positive, undeniable shift with the Pepcid AC and Zyrtec, I feel really confident that like that's what's going on for me. And I'm just so grateful that that shift has helped me. But even though I am hopeful that the like throes of the deep depression side of PMDD are hopefully behind me, there's of course no guarantee that they are. And what is really important is that this highlighted that things have to change. Because even if I feel better, like I realized that the way I was doing my business just really isn't going to work for me, and that I need to design my business to succeed and thrive when I'm at my lowest. And I realized that that's not how it was set up. It was set up to succeed when I was on my A game. And that has to change. And that kind of leads me into this next part of what has to change and like where I'm going and how this is happening. So what I realized, like I said, is that business and life I've got to change the way I do things. I want to be clear that I'm very much in this still. Like I said, this is like my third month taking this medicine. Like I just realized I had it like 2 or 3 months ago. I was in the darkest depression ever the 2 months before that, right? So I'm very much in it. So I want a disclaimer before I get into this that I am not sitting here saying that these are the changes everyone needs to make, but that they're the changes I've identified I want to make and am making, and where I'm at with that. So number one, I realized that, like I said, business has got to shift. It has to work and thrive when I'm potentially at my most depressed. And number two, I realized that I need to regulate my nervous system as a priority, because what I didn't realize is just how crazy stressed out I was. Like, I don't think if you asked me if I was stressed, I would say I was stressed. It didn't feel like how stress has historically felt to me. But I can see now that I basically was in a state of like constant urgency, and this unpredictability of how I would feel really amplified that, because I never knew how good I would feel or if I'd feel very good for very long. And it just amplified this like now energy. Like I stopped planning and I was like in the now. What am I doing today? How am I making money today? How am I showing up today? Oh, I need to create something to go live today. Oh, I didn't do it. I'm behind. Try again tomorrow. Like it was just this like really intense urgency and stress again that I just like didn't even realize that's what was happening. And because of that, that obviously was a super dysregulated nervous system. I was, and it was a vicious cycle. The urgency and the stress and the pressure made me feel disappointed in myself, which amplified all the things. I need a sip of my drink. And so that was a big wake up call for me, because it wasn't like I'm burned out, I need to not be burned out. It was like, oh, we've got to really change things. Like this has to happen. So the two things I'm actively working on right now is number one, shifting my business to work when I'm at the lowest. And number two, regulating my nervous system and breaking unhealthy patterns of stress and urgency and self-neglect. Fun times. So I want to share with you the actual changes I'm making right now in an effort to do this. And like I said, I'm sharing this kind of while I'm in the process. I hope to share future updates. If you're interested in hearing more about this journey, or you have your own experience or your own thoughts or questions, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. That would, I think, be really meaningful. But here's where I'm at. So this is what I'm doing and where I'm at. And again, like I'm in the middle of these changes. So we will see like if they work or if I need to do something else. So the first part here, like why am I dysregulated and what would make me feel more regulated? Kind of exploring this concept of dysregulation for me. I know that not planning forward is making everything feel really urgent. So what I need to start doing is start planning farther ahead and work through the discomfort of delayed gratification. I have ADHD. I think there had been, I started to get like dopamine from the stuff with my business, right? And so I'm really having to actively work through discomfort of like, this isn't actually urgent, and it is okay if I do this and it goes live next week, or if I'm working on something that's happening in a couple of weeks. It's okay for this to take more time to get this to my clients. It's okay to not be immediately available for X, Y, and Z, right? So just planning farther ahead and giving myself more buffer again, and the discomfort of that delayed gratification, and just like trusting that I can do this. So that's one thing. The second thing here is I had really started to think like that urgency of I need to make a sale right now. And instead really actively making peace with the truth that I don't need to make a sale right now. And that this is a great opportunity to get a better grasp on my finances, get back into those financial habits, cut back on expenses, and get comfortable with an adjustment season financially, which of course is uncomfortable, but we're getting comfortable with it because I have to break this like now cycle. Thankfully, I do have the ability to do that, but it is certainly uncomfortable to be like, oh, this isn't normal for me. This isn't how my business normally is. And so it's an intentional, like active thing I'm working on. Another thing, why am I dysregulated, would be because I just wasn't really taking care of my body consistently. So again, like there's ebbs and flows to all of this. So I'm kind of speaking in blanket statements, but just for the simplicity of my own self and making steps forward, I'm kind of simplifying everything. So ultimately just, I wasn't taking care of my body in the way that I want to. And that is important to me. So sleep habits in particular are something I'm focusing on, trying to, sleep with the phone across the room, read in bed, go to sleep at a certain time. If you're a mom out there, you probably get the like revenge bedtime stuff. I was totally doing that and transparently still really struggling with some of these habits. But I'm really working on my sleep habits, reinstating some routines, and focusing on trying to move my body every day. Ideally, I want to be lifting weights 3 times a week, but how can I just make progress? And I think that's another piece of this too, is just not having to go from like 0 to 100 and being like, what if we just layer this in one at a time, which is so uncomfortable. I just want to do it all. Another reason I was feeling dysregulated is jumping into work right away. And this feeling, I would tell people, I was like, I feel like I'm squeezing every minute. I feel like I'm squeezing every minute out of every day, and it's just not enough. And really having to shift that, where I'm spending time for me. Ultimately I'm spending less time working, right? But I'm spending time for me, go run errands in the morning, go journal, move my body, do something for me, shower before I sit down to work. And then also intentionally stopping work early to do things like nap or read, or again, run errands or do personal tasks. So just not feeling that urgency and that pressure to squeeze every minute. Also dysregulated because of the self-doubt and the overthinking spiral that I was in. So really proactively self-coaching in a new way every day. I've always loved stream of consciousness journaling, which I've talked about, and that was kind of my main form of self-coaching for a long time, and it still is basically the baseline. But I've really adopted a more true to the phrase self-coaching, where I actually kind of on paper coach myself. So I may say something, and then I'm like, pretend to be the coach. I'm like, well, why do you think that? Or what if that was okay? Or whatever. And then I like answer. And I'm like literally coaching myself. It sounds like something you just want to do in your head, but doing it on paper has been literally life-changing. Like I've realized things I wouldn't have realized otherwise. So that's been huge. So those are some of the things I'm like actively doing. And I guess I should mention too, it's kind of related to the planning one, but just also embracing that like pen and paper is where it's got to be for me in terms of productivity. Like I need to just have to-do lists for the week and for the day, because as much as I love digital stuff, it needs to be visible. I have ADHD and I just need to like allow it and work with that instead of trying to like change myself. Just be like, okay, yeah, like this just needs to be on paper for now. And so every day I just kind of have my paper list and I check it off. And of course, that's been really helpful for me to accomplish things because it's so satisfying to cross something off. So again, I think part of the planning piece is not that everything is paper, but just also kind of allowing, like working with myself versus fighting against myself. Okay, so then the other side of things, like why does my business not work when I'm depressed? And what would make it work? So one of the big things I realized very quickly was that I had basically, I'm simplifying things here, but the way I had been selling my programs and my coaching and my masterminds was ultimately about selling an identity that I would want to embody all the time, and selling this, selling my energy, selling me, selling access to me. And I can't do that anymore. Just selling the vibes and selling me and my energy does not work when I'm depressed, because number one, I don't like selling that when I don't feel it. That don't feel good. But also I just realized it was like, that's just not how this business needs to be. And that's not how a healthy, chill business would be. So I'm in the process of shifting my offers and my messaging to be about more of a, each offer is a clear, tangible result, a clear outcome, where curriculum and trainings can become the head coach and do the heavy lifting of getting clients results. And my coaching is still there and very valuable, but it is not like the main thing I'm selling. I don't know if that's going to make sense. I'm excited to bring that to life, and you'll be seeing that shift. But that was a big one. It's just like, yeah, just selling the identity shifts and the vibes and the energy and the access to me. It's not working in this season of life for me right now. It needs to shift into more of like a process and a method and an outcome and a result that is less about me and more about how we do this together. Anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Another thing was just creating short form content and doing it like in the moment. But again, then I was never head on it, and ultimately just don't love short form content all the time anyways. So I'm making a shift to focus on long form content, specifically YouTube again. And really this is going to help me when I'm in, inconsistent energy. I can still do batches of YouTube. Like I can work with it. I know about when I'm going to feel good. I can plan to do a batch of videos, and I can do 2, 3, or 4 videos then. And so that way, even when I don't feel like creating content, I have content already going out. And I love YouTube. Y'all know I'm a big YouTube fan. Like I want to be on YouTube above any other platform. It's been the most successful for me over the 10 years. I could do a whole separate thing about YouTube. I'm sure I will. But ultimately just like prioritizing it over that instant gratification, that like selling every day, get a sale now, that really like leans to Instagram. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm not sitting here saying I'm never posting on Instagram, but I'm just not prioritizing it. Like my prioritization is YouTube and email, and like not being dependent on Instagram and not relying on those short form pieces of content to grow the business, because YouTube works so well. It's just a little bit of a heavier lift up front, or it feels like it is. I mean, here I am doing it. It's so not, but that initiation part, doing it, getting in the habit again, feels like counterintuitive that would work when you're depressed, but it's like, oh, it's actually really good because I can do a batch of that all at once. Like today I'm doing 2 videos. So that means I'm already going to be ahead, which is, hit my mic, which is like such a positive win. And again, this idea of one of the other things I'm shifting is this whole like trying to make sales every day with daily sales activities. It's just like too dependent on how I feel that day. It's too dependent on my energy. And of course, that does not work when you're feeling depressed and you don't want to show up. So focusing on that longer term, higher ROI, what are words? Y'all, I don't know why I'm out of breath. Higher ROI activities like YouTube and email is how I'm addressing that. So again, I'm not sitting here making hard rules for myself that I'm like not going to be on Instagram, but again, not focused on it. So that's kind of where I'm at. This is what I'm working through right now. These are the shifts I'm in the process of making. There's actually a lot more I would love to share with you of things that are percolating, things that I'm working on, things that are coming, but I don't want to share those yet because I want to allow myself the opportunity to like feel ready to share that when I'm ready. But this is where I'm at, focusing on keeping the business simple and sustainable, but also just to this whole other new level, right? It's so much simpler to sell a result and an outcome that people care about, to solve problems people have, to create content that I want to create and not try to squeeze and control every single thing because you're so stressed out, right? So we're just doing a deeper recalibration, which feels good. This is a deeper understanding of what it can be like to have depression or chronic illness, which I've definitely supported clients who have that. And now I have a deeper understanding of what that experience might be like for them, which I think ultimately helps me be, a better coach and teacher, but also I think a more empathetic human to everyone for the rest of my life. And my mission is the same. My mission is to help, ambitious, amazing women grow a business, whether they have PMDD, chronic illness, full plate with kids and a busy, full life, and just helping you make good money with all of that in just this radically simple way with systems and processes and strategies that work even at your lowest capacity. So this work is just a deepening of that. And I do want to say too, if you are interested in working together, you can check the description below for all the different ways that I would love to support you in your journey of growing your business in a way that is simple and sustainable. I'm helping some clients right now launch their memberships, change the way they create content, launch and use YouTube to grow their business, to sell digital products and courses. It's amazing to just see what everyone's working on. I just am so honored and grateful to do this work and to have you here along the journey. So thank you for being here. Subscribe, comment below with any follow-up questions, any favorite parts, any aha moments, anything you want to share would be much appreciated. And any questions you do leave, I will be actually looking through for future video ideas. And I think it'd be really fun to even go through and do some Q&A videos where I'm answering people's questions from the comments too. So any requests related to this or not, I would love to hear them in the comments below. So thank you so much. And I'll probably come back with an update on how this journey is going when it feels like the time. So keep an eye out for that.